So I was just thinking, and I remembered reading on YouTube comments of people saying Jesus wasn't a Jew. And obviously people who have a problem with Jews and have a problem with their Messiah, so-called, being Jewish. So I just said to them, well, thanks for disproving your entire religion for me. Because obviously if Jesus wasn't Jewish, he wasn't the Messiah of the Old Testament written by Jews. And I didn't get a response from them. But if he's not Jewish, he's not the Messiah. So you did anyone who sets the go disprove Christianity their job for them. But anyway, so I googled this to see if I could get any information as to reasons of how they could possibly say that Jesus wasn't a Jew. And first, I just clicked on the first link. Jesus was not a Jew, by Benjamin H. Friedman, Jewish historian, researcher, and scholar, from Common Sense. Christians have been duped by the unholiest hoax in all history by so-called Jews. This is considered their most effective weapon. This big lie technique is brainwashing United States Christians into believing that Jesus Christ was King of the Jews, in the sense that so-called Jews today call themselves Jews. This reference was first made in English translations of the Old and New Testament centuries before the so-called Jews hijacked the word Jew in the 18th century AD to palm themselves off to the Christian world as having a kinship with Jesus Christ. This alleged kinship comes from the myth of their common ancestry with the so-called Jews of the Holy Land in the Old Testament history, a fiction based on fable. And it keeps putting Jews in quotations as if the term Jew has nothing to do with the Israelites. And then it goes off and says your typical Jews are just converts from the Khazars. I'm sure you've all heard enough of that, so I won't read it, but typical anti-Jewish. The Jews aren't real Jews. They're synagogue of Satan, converted by the Khazars that converted. And even if they did, and even if the majority of today's Jews, and they're not all white. Not all modern-day Jews are white. Even if they were converts, that doesn't make them any less Jewish. But anyways, it keeps going on about that, and then it says Jesus was a Judean, not a Jew. They don't understand. I think this guy doesn't understand that a Jew is synonymous with Israelite. And it says Jesus was a Judean, not a Jew. During his lifetime, no persons were described as Jews anywhere. Okay. And so he's saying basically that the term Jew is a recent term to describe the Khazar converts, and it has nothing to do with the Israelites, and that's clearly a lie. And they obviously, for a so-called scholar, he doesn't have much knowledge of the Hebrew, the Jewish scriptures, because I'm just gonna go to one verse, and I'm just gonna disprove his whole thing that Israelites were never referred to as Jews until recently. And I'm not going to get into the whole conversion thing because, I don't have on me the verses needed to support the fact that, well, actually, yeah, I do. This verse, now that I think about it, does both. So I'm going to both prove that the term Jew is not a new term, and it's been used since before Jesus' time, and also that you can convert and become a Jew using one verse. It proves the whole thing. And I've used this to my dad, who his theology is interesting. He thinks that Jews do have a covenant with God, but he's not sure if he thinks converts are included in that covenant. And he's not saying they're not, but he doesn't know. And so I've showed him this. And anyways, so I've used it before. That's why I have it. And anyway, it's going to prove many different things. I'm going to use the JPS, Jewish Publication Society, Esther 8:17. Well, I'll start with 8:16. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor, and in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had gladness and joy, a feast and a good day. And many from among the peoples of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews was fallen upon them. And I think a lot of these Jew haters don't know about this verse, and if they did, they wouldn't. They probably would, but they shouldn't be saying what they say. And that verse right there both proves. I'll go to the Hebrew. I'll go to the KJV, King James with concordance. Jews, Yehudi. It became Jews as a verb. It says Yahad, to become a Jew. Okay, for the fear of the Jews, Yehudi. Yehudi, Jew. I mean, Yehudi is Hebrew for Jew. It's the term certainly existed. Maybe not the English term Jew, but the term Jew existed before Jesus, and for the fear of the Jews fell upon them, so they became Jews because the fear of the Jews was upon them. So that proves both that you can become a Jew, and that the term Jew was applied to Jews in Jesus' time.